Welcome, Immortalites, to another round of the conversations. Last week I had a chat with my friend Hosky. So there's second appearance on the Mere Mortals, the first being about 9 months ago in conversation number 74. With a repeat guest, I like to keep it casual. So there was two main themes, responsibility and fun. So on the responsibility side, we were talking about how he has gone mentally with a project that has just been so popular, about crypto regulations, about how Hosky is definitely not decentralized, do not invest in this thing, about lawyers and trademarks and all those sorts of fun things. And then the more fun things, which were community, about culture, about what is coming up in the future, about some listener questions and things like this. So I really do hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world and enjoy this chat with Hosky. So last time we chatted was on the 5th of May of 2022. So for those who are wondering what happened 4 days after that, there was the Terra Luna crash. So kind of funny timing on that part, which I suppose was a big reality check for a lot of people, especially new people getting in. And it's rather hard, I suppose, if you are new because and just young, getting into these sorts of things and just learning about the basics of investing and then having the access to kind of like meme coins at the same time is a little bit dangerous. I mean, I guess the equivalent was there back in the day of, penny stocks and things like that. And you could kind of have maybe joke companies and things.
And I mean, and that's the thing with like the Terra Luna thing. We've seen that in the past already. Like, it's not the first time that it's happened to crypto. Obviously, this I believe is what like really pushed us into the bear market. I mean that collapse was huge because of the collapse of Terra Luna. Then you started seeing other companies implode because they were heavily invested or over leveraged. This last year has been quite historic in a bad way for crypto. Terra Luna, Voyager, Celsius, FTX. It's just like nonstop negative news. Interest rates through the roof. So borrowing money isn't cheap anymore, at least here for us in the U.S. And it's been we've lived through the pandemic, and now we're living through these times. It's kind of funny and it's kind of sad. But at the same time, I mean, I still see crypto as the answer. And now you mentioned meme coins, and I will stand by what I've always said. Never put money in meme coins. It's not worth it. They're all worthless. They're all going to zero. I don't care if they're promising you moons, gains, and Lambos. You're going to get wrecked. It's not worth it. Start looking at stuff that's actually worth investing, companies that have actual technology behind them. And that will make much more of a difference in the long term than the quick gains that are there one day. And if you don't know what the heck you're doing, you're convinced by the diamond hands BS that's out there, you're going to end up broke again or broker than what you started with.
Yeah, for sure. I think that gets to a lot about responsibility, and I'm going to have to say this right at the start, just because I kind of feel there's a need for it, which is I own like a whole bunch of Hosky. Now, I don't intend to talk about price at all in this. I find that the least interesting.
You can. It's zero.
Thing. Yeah. I suppose there we go. And that's a good point you make there, which then also, I guess, gets to the point. And I'll kind of put this bluntly, like, why did you even start it then? Are you just trying to get rich?
I mean, that would be nice, but it was a joke. I mean, I've never admitted that it's been anything other than a joke. And a lot of what's happened has actually been like, there have been so many like coincidences that have gotten us to where we are at that I couldn't have planned it myself.
Would you mind sharing some of those? Because I think even for me, I saw you guys on Twitter at the start. I thought it was funny as hell, and I'd never got into a meme coin before, so I was like, oh, what the hell? I feel like I need all the crypto experiences.
So here's this. I'm going to start with some of the smaller things. Like for example, minting the token. We minted it November 5th, which is Charles Hoskinson's birthday
of 2021. Yeah,
2021. Yep, and the name of it is Hosky. So, a genius marketer or planner would have minted that on Charles's birthday, right?
Yep.
That's what you would expect.
Yes, correct.
Well, it was 100% an accident. That's actually one of my kids' birthday, and I just wanted a memorable date that was around that time. So, my daughter being born like, I don't know, 12, 11, 13 years before that on November 5th made it happen. Who would have thought? Um, like, for example, in the brown paper, we mentioned stuff that like we're going to Pluto, not the moon. I just wanted to find something that was ridiculous. And then everybody made the connection like, oh, Pluto. And Pluto has a moon that's named Hydra. Wow, that's actually quite a connection. How did you come up with that? Again, 100% on accident. Um,
100% IQ.
right. It's my 200 IQ. No, it
Yes,
was
for sure.
actually totally accidental. And just like little things that happened within 2 weeks of us launching, the doggy bowl was paused at the time because of the ridiculous demand that we had. I don't know, I think at the time we had like 300,000 transactions queued up while we were paused to basically increase the throughput of the script to be able to handle the load. And at that time, we were contacted by an exchange, and they're like, "Hey, we see you guys are gaining popularity uh, on Cardano, and we want to get you added. Give us $50,000." That was pretty much the summary of the conversation. And I was like, "Well, no, but if you want some of our tokens, you can have them because to us they're worthless." And they basically gave me some like corporate spiel, blah 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 blah. They went away. January of 2022, they come back and they're like, "Hey, it's us again. We'll take your offer." So we gave them tokens that again to us were worthless. I don't even remember how much it was. I think it was like 4, 5, 6 trillion, something like that. And they basically listed us on Mexi, and we didn't ask. They came to us. They made the offer that they would do it at zero cost to us, and that's how we got in exchange. Not something that we planned, not something that we were pushing for. It just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's been a lot of like coincidences that have happened that I'm like, huh, I could have not planned that myself. Now, as far as the getting rich part, the question that you asked, it's always been clearly stated that I'm after yachts and Lambos. However, with the bear market being 90% down on everybody's bags, if you're a Cardano holder, yeah, I might have to settle for like a remote control uh, yacht and like a little Hot Wheels Lambo.
Yeah, Hot Wheels Lambo is pretty cool.
That's as much as. But no, as far as I mean, and I'll say this, my life before Hosky, I would say was really good. I can't complain. So whether Hosky succeeds or if crypto as a whole industry collapses and everything goes to zero, I can say that not much would change in my life. I mean, Hosky, other than taking up a lot of time, hasn't changed the way I live. I not one that's after fancy cars, fancy homes. I have my home. I've always had it. I've had it before Hosky. It's here after, and I don't plan to move into some mansion just because we've made some money. It's to me, um, actually to this day, we have not taken any pay from the company. Like I've been doing this in a way pro bono. Obviously, I'm part owner of the company that owns Hosky, but I have not seen the need to take any money or to take any pay. All the ADA we've brought in remains in the rug pools, and we don't expect it to go anywhere for the near future.
Yeah. So this is where I guess it's interesting to see just how a person's general psychology can also influence how they view the world almost. So and that makes sense. So if I was to put like a totally cynical bent on everything I've experienced with Hosky, would be something along the lines of this. Like you say all those things, but you're gonna do it to get rich. You were, generous in giving me stuff because you're still like the underlying principle is greedy. This is getting to that million IQ 4D chess sort of thing where it's you're giving it away just to then in the future be greedy. I'm covering this because I have my own Hosky bags and I'm doing this to be greedy. And it's like, sure, you can view the world like that, but it gets to a point then when you go down to individual actions and it's like, oh, that person picked off litter off the ground and put it in a trash bin because they just wanted the, applause and attention and
Hmm.
and the goodwill of people, because it's like, oh, they're such a good person, but they're actually doing the litter picking up to do that. And it's like, well, they're still picking the shit up from the ground and putting it in a bin,
Right.
like, and I would say an objectively good thing.
Hmm.
Have you, of all the things you've seen of kind of the behind the scenes of dealing with exchanges, of behavior of people, of, you mentioned a company, I didn't even know that. I imagine there's a lot of legal stuff required, dealing with the IRS, maybe even with the law stuff with regards to
Hmm.
what your thing is. It's obviously not decentralized, so
Hmm.
there's some responsibility on that. Have you become cynical about any of that process?
So I can say that um, just seeing Hosky, seeing the rumors that were spread early on, some rumors that still exist to today. I mean, early on, people were saying that Hosky was created by some company that was trying to take down Cardano because we kept the network congested for like, a while. I mean, we had 4 6 hour delays on non-Hosky related transactions because of the sheer number of Husky transactions. And, there was rumors of who was behind it. It was VC backed. That's why it was doing so great. There was a lot of money being poured into it.
Charles was
So,
behind it. I'm pretty sure I heard that
right,
one.
Charles at one point was involved, according to them. So, all of this taught me that a lot of what you see in the crypto space is just smoke and mirrors. And the quote unquote experts that kept saying stuff like literally claimed, oh, I have an insider that has been giving me this info. And I mean, at the time, it was Vegas and myself. So there was no insider. I mean,
Vegas, that
I don't
squealer.
believe. Right. It's him. So I knew that was like complete garbage. And I mean, that actually made me lose a lot of hope in crypto, but that was a good thing though, because I stopped looking at hype, rumors, or insider information, and I just started looking at what was actually available to us, what was in front of us. Which it made me lose faith in crypto as a whole, but it made me gain a lot of respect and appreciation for the way Cardano is being built. So it made me bearish and bullish at the same time,
Yeah,
if we
well,
can say it that way.
I would even just take that to the next level and say that that's not a crypto thing. That's a media thing.
Yeah.
The amount of just nonsense you'll see of personal attacks, and I'll try and list a couple of examples here, which maybe span a broad section. So attacks on PewDiePie for being like a racist Nazi, attacks on, let's just even say, Greta Thunberg, of,
Hmm.
personal attacks and things like that regarding her mental health, or who she is as a person, like underlying characteristics of her, what she looks like and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes much imagination to find whatever your political leanings, if you want to put it that way, social
Yeah.
leanings, is straight up interests. It doesn't take much effort to find a portrayal which is just so absolutely ridiculous of a person that you have some affinity for, or inclination with, or even personally know, to go, okay, yeah, a lot of the media system is broken. So I wouldn't put that just on crypto, but yeah, your
Yeah.
point's well made.
Yeah. And I
There's
mean, people have biases. I mean, I have biases. You have biases. We all do. It's part of human nature. And that's why I think we see a lot of these issues in the media as a whole. And I think that's why the media actually latches onto those biases and basically is profiting from them because they'll get clicks, they'll get views, there'll be more ads that they're showing the users, so they're making money. I think that's one of the reasons why the world is perceived as extremely negative nowadays, mainly because negative news sell more than positive, uplifting news. And if we continue to fall for them, if we continue to go after sensational headlines, and then that's when we're running into issues. I can tell you that Hosky has taken so much of my time that I have not seen a news report channel in over a year. And, you know, life is okay. I mean, obviously, I do have to stay informed with what's going on, but life's not that bad. It's only bad if you let certain media narratives change your view on things. And there's already enough problems to deal with locally within, usually, as an individual, within a family, whatever it is, to have to worry too much about everything else.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly healthy and unhealthy. The healthy part being not seeing news headlines and stuff like that, and then unhealthy in that you're spending all your time on Hosky.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Hosky came out of boredom, honestly. I quit Facebook. I said, I'm sick and tired of Facebook. It's taking up too much of my time. So I think back in like July or August, I turned off the notifications for Facebook. That's all I did to
Beautiful.
start off with. And I was spending 80% less time on it because I would only check it when I would remember to check it. I mean, most of these social media apps are designed to like send you an alert every so often just so that you can go back in there, even if it's not relevant to anything. So after that, I was like, you know what? Even these alerts that, that I make, now that I turned it off, now that I'm going back in every night, I'm like, I don't need this. So I literally deleted my Facebook account and I was like, done. No more social media for me. I would still browse Reddit here and there. That was about the extent of it. But without even an account, just, let's go look at the Cardano subreddit. Let's go look at this other subreddit, whatever it may be. And eventually I was bored. And one time I was on Twitter and I was like, somebody had mentioned about meme tokens on Cardano and the lack thereof. And I'm like, huh, trolling is what a meme token is. I can probably pull that off. So let me go create an account. And that's when Cardago was born, because that's actually the original name for Hosky. Until Cardago NFT came along and said, hey, you guys are like, within a couple days, hey, you guys are abusing our name and we don't appreciate it. And obviously, as the new Twitter account, I didn't want to have any beef. So I was like, okay, thanks. I'll go ahead and change it. So, at the time, I think we had 300 people on our Discord. So we ran a poll and, people chose the different names. I think it went down to like Attaboy and Hosky. And personally, I was a fan of Attaboy. Thankfully, Hosky won. So that's where Hosky was born. It was literally out of boredom and because I gave up social media. Who would have thought that giving up Facebook would end up with something that I would end up with something that was going to consume even more time than Facebook ever could. Like, I hate when
Got
my
him.
phone reminds me every Sunday in the morning. It's like, hey, here's your activity for the week. Your average is 16 hours. I was like, oof. And it's like, oh, your average is down. It's only 15 and a half hours. I'm like, ouch. So, I mean, a lot of people will talk about like, the ADA that we've made on our NFTs. I think it's like if you just take it without just 6.9 ADA times 420,000, it's something like 2.9 million ADA.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's not just me. We have two artists. We have Vegas as well. So, and actually, we decided when we started Hosky that we weren't going to be like every other project out there. Most projects will pay their artists like a flat fee, maybe 10 grand. And then they pull in a couple million ADA, and the artist only gets a little bit. Or the developers is in the same way; they get like 1-2% tops. And we decided we didn't want to be like that. So early on, we basically agreed that anything that was coming in was going to be split between the two artists and us. So out of every NFT, and I've said this publicly before, out of every NFT that came in, I got one ADA, Vegas got one ADA, and each of our artists got one ADA. And ideally, so anything that was left over, that went into the company pot for expenses, whatever the case may be. So out of Hosky, the four of us that were involved in the initial creation of the NFTs, we each have 420,000 ADA. That's what we each are walking away with. So, that's a lot of ADA. I'm not going to say it's not. Yet, if I take the price of ADA divided by the number of hours I've been putting in, it's like working minimum wage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Especially with the
it really,
prices
like,
as
I
they are.
really sometimes at the current rates, I'm like, I really question. I'm like, did I really just, dedicate this much time into this project for that much money? I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's like minimum wage. Um, So, it's stuff that people don't see. I mean, I don't expect them to know all this. But
Yeah.
again, even to this day, even the artists haven't taken the pay. It's still staked with the rug pulls. Why, I don't know. I don't know their particular, circumstances. For me, it's just this to me is long. Crypto as a whole is long term. So if by tomorrow I wake up and ADA is worth zero, like I said before, oh well, I'm still employed. I actually still have my regular day to day job. Still got my family to take care of. Still got my chickens in the backyard producing eggs, which are actually more bullish at the moment than crypto. I thought it was a mistake when I built the chicken coop last year, like during the summer.
I've
I
heard
was
they're a
like,
lot of
why am I
work.
doing
Oh,
this? It's a lot of money. And then I finally finished it, and now all this junk has happened, and I'm like, wow, like those chickens are probably the best investment of the last 12 months.
yeah. Well, that's the sad thing, right? You never really know what it is that's going to actually be as an investment sometimes. Like I've made really, really good decisions. Like I've been so proud of myself for making a good decision with regards to like I based on my knowledge of the time, I sold the crypto that I had in 2020 when the
Hmm.
COVID pandemic happened, and it was because I was holding it and I had really no idea. Like I literally left it on exchange for 3 years.
Wow.
I didn't know the fundamentals, and I made the very good decision of selling and buying something I did know a lot more of some stocks because the stock market plummeted, and then of course
Yeah.
the stock market did well, but crypto did even better.
Yeah.
But there are times where you make the like correct decision and you can get burnt, and then also vice versa, which is the case for me. What's the best investment? And I really hate associating that word with Hosky, but that is by and far the best performing thing I've ever put put my money in, which is just like,
Take those words out of your mouth, because that is not what it should be.
I know, and the thing is, like, I didn't treat it that way, which is the point of it, I guess. Like, I the this gets to a good thing of sort of the gambling culture
Hmm.
of I suppose what is a meme coin. I'm pretty sure I'd put it down to gambling or a
Well,
form of
I
that
mean,
in essence.
that, I think that can be said to pretty much anything like NFT in the NFT space and like the meme token space. I do feel like it's gambling, because when you're looking at the way people treat NFTs, like it's always
It's a
what's the
blue
latest
chip
and
though.
greatest, and yeah, it's BS is what it needs to be called. But you're always having people that are looking for what's the next thing. Oh well, mine 100x or whatever not, and it's the same thing you see with tokens too. Especially those that have nothing backing them, that those that have no real utility, no use. Unfortunately, the marketing on some of these things is like too much, and you have companies spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to promote the next Eno token, with telling you that you're getting rockets, moons, Lambos, and yachts. And in reality, the only people that are walking away with that are those insiders that either got tokens given to them so that they would promote, or anything else, and basically you end up as exit liquidity. And I think even that's even the case for not only tokens but for NFTs as well. I mean, eventually you have you. It looks like there's like rallies around a certain project. Project pumps, gets to a ridiculous level, then people start dumping it, and then eventually you're stuck with a JPEG that you paid, I don't know, 1,000 ADA, and then it's now worth like 50 ADA after all the hype wore off. Um, and let's be real, most NFTs that claim to have utility is really sad, because they're giving you another worthless token in exchange as a staking reward. You have to lock up your NFTs, or you have to do something, or they're giving you an extra NFT by holding an NFT. And to me, that's not utility. Like, if that's what you see as utility, I think it's stupid. And don't get me wrong, like our NFTs, you can technically stake them and you can get more Hosky that way. or you can just stake your ADA like you normally would, which is what I always recommend. Is like, hey, you already have ADA bags. Go ahead and stake them to one of the rug pools, and you'll still get your ADA, and you can also get the tokens. So it's a sad situation that we're in, I think, as a space, because what people are trying to push, in this case, founders, as utility, in my opinion, it's nothing more than smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, a lot of it is that, and let's remember that I think NFTs as a word was really only getting chucked around. I mean, in terms of mainstream, a year and a half ago, maybe. I think that was the
Yeah.
first time I heard of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was a year and a little bit ago where I bought one just to test out, like, what's this new thing, just for fun.
Yeah.
Much like I test out. We were talking about the media before, and you'll see there's lots of attempts now at the moment of things like Noster, if you've heard of that, which is a
Mm-hmm.
like a notes and other stuff transmitted
Decentralized.
by relay. Yeah,
Yeah.
decentralized
Yep.
social media.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this stuff has been attempted before. The Hive blockchain at the moment is sort of like that as well. There's so many like new gadgets, new things, and yeah, definitely it's the I mean, testing out is great, and when sometimes it's not so great because you try it, and like I've tried out Nostr, and I haven't had a great experience with it.
Yep.
And there's a lot of these things will succeed, a lot of them won't. I think the point is just don't go crazy on them.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I think the general rule of crypto that you hear from everybody tossed around, but I don't think people really, even those that preach it, aren't actually living it, is don't invest more than you're willing to lose.
yeah, yeah.
And I can say that if my entire crypto portfolio was to melt, I'm fully aware that that could be the case. Um, would it hurt a little bit? Maybe. But is it gonna like alter my life? I mean, with the Terra Luna stuff, we saw people that were like committing suicide over, losing all their money. Yeah, I love my life. My life's not about crypto. My life's not about money. I have bigger things to live for than money. So I can tell you that even if everything went to zero, I would not be one of those people. Just because, again, I don't find my hope in financial gain or Lambos, moons, or homes or whatever. I think you have to have something a little bit bigger to live for than just money. Otherwise, personally, I think you're wasting your life.
Oh yeah, 100%. The pursuit of money is, for me, just as silly as the pursuit of happiness. It's like a well-lived life is full of much other richer things.
Yes.
In terms of, and it's a lot more base, a lot of it. And when I say base, I mean it gets closer to parts of the human fundamental things which we all sort of enjoy. Having a connection with a family or friends, the ability to like just de-stress, not be constantly on the wire, stressed out about something. An example of this is I have a friend who was day trading and stuff, and he had a whole lot of his net worth on FTX. Now FTX went down, and who knows what's going to happen from that. But let's just say at the very least he's had his net worth temporarily cut off, and it will be severely reduced by the time anything comes out of that. And who knows, 50%, 30%, 70%, like it's up in the air. What did he do? Well, the first time he told me about that was when I saw him at the Calisthenic Park. It was a beautiful spring day, maybe summer, and was just outdoors exercising. And it was like, look, yeah, this really hurt, and it sucks. And I could see he was dealing with the emotional pain of dealing with a huge, significant drawdown in his net worth. Almost, it's kind of the acceptance of how much of your time, because money is essentially time. You work.
Right.
And you put in years of time, and you get some sort of intangible thing, which is very hard to, you don't really know what it is, but it's valuable. And he was like, look, yeah, this sucks, but I'm still healthy. I've still got my girlfriend and our dog. I've still got the ability to come out and exercise. I'm here in Australia. It's a beautiful country. I've got a profession which I stepped away from, which I didn't enjoy as much as day trading. But he could go back to that.
Yeah.
And
Well, that makes
everything
it
is a gamble almost as well. So
right.
leaving your money in a bank, if you're in
Is a
Argentina,
gamble.
that's a huge gamble, and even
Right.
in Australia, that's like a what 10% of 8% inflation on the books or something like that.
Yep.
It's a little bit less now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in his situation, he saw what a lot of people fail to see is that, if anything, I see crypto as something that in the future could give me the ability to gain more time with, my loved ones. Um, because if it gave me the ability to, say, not have to work my day job, then that's, 40 plus hours a week that I don't have to be locked in my office working. And I can spend it with my family. I mean, that's what most 60 plus year olds that retire want to do. Would I like to retire sooner than that to spend more time with my family? Obviously, the answer I think for everybody would be yes. Um, it's a little bit different. Like, my wife and I homeschool our kids, so they're always around us. And I work from home, so that's all. I'm always around. I can technically just step away if I need to and go deal with anything. And even then, I still think it's not enough time because I'm still away from them. I'm still locked in a room, sometimes not as accessible as others. So for me, if anything, and it's always been my thought process behind crypto, is that it could give me that ability, but it also doesn't mean that that's the only thing I'm going to look forward to. I still need to make the time to spend it with my family now with my regular job and not just hope that it works out because it maybe it takes 10 years and it doesn't work out. Then all the kids are out of the house and I wasted all that time trying to, spend more time with them by taking time away from them and it doesn't work out. So, crypto has its ups, its downs. Same thing with stock market, stocks and bonds, same idea. So there has to be a balance. I can say that the first year of Hosky was extremely imbalanced. Again, when my phone was telling me I was spending 15 to 18 hours sometimes on it, because most of Hosky happened through my phone, and yeah, that makes quite a difference when you're being reminded, hey, this is what you've been doing. So I think having the priorities right is always going to be a good thing. And I don't think money should ever be the first priority. I think if you're in that mentality, you're setting up yourself for disappointment, especially in markets like crypto that are up and down, and very volatile.
Yeah, I'll add the caveat to that, which is if you already have a bit, there's one of the things about crushing poverty is just it weighs you down in a way. And I haven't experienced this firsthand, so I can't speak about the emotional side of it. But what you hear about is people who are going through that extreme poverty. Money is the only thing they can think about because that is equating
Right.
to not being able to, having a hungry child at home. That
Yeah.
level of desperation.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, I always talk about this story, but I think it's worth repeating, is when I was in Argentina in 2018, in about May, and then I went back there in 2019 in about April. So it was less than a year. And the currency inflated about 100% in that time. So when I went there, 7 Australian dollars was 100 pesos. When I went back, 7 Australian dollars was 200. So I saw the effects of how much time and talk about literal time wasting. My girlfriend at the
Yeah.
time did promotional work, so she'd get paid in cash. Every time she got paid in cash and she'd get kind of like a lump sum of it, it would be, okay, what are we going to do with this? Because in a month's time, this is going to be worth, 90% of what it is now, or 85%, something
Yeah.
like that. What we ended up doing was we would take a trip into the central area of Buenos Aires, go into a money exchange. She would go into this locked room sort of thing, hand over the cash, and then she would get US dollars, come back out, and then we'd go back to her place in Palermo. That was like a 1 hour round trip every couple of weeks. Talk about time wasting. Holy crap. And then money as well. 'Cause,
In order to protect the value of the money though.
yes, correct.
Otherwise it was, and see, that's the thing though, like I can't say I came from extreme poverty, but we were fairly poor. I was actually born in Mexico. I was there till I was 11. And as a child, I don't think you notice a lot of things. Growing up, I can say that I never lacked anything. I don't think I ever went to bed hungry. It wasn't extravagant meals. It was like very basic things that we had to eat. Mostly beans, potatoes, and rice is kind of what you survive off of. A lot of beans because it's Mexico.
Yeah, for sure.
And the one, the one story that always stands out to me, and it was like I was very grateful. Um, every now and then we would go to I come from a town that was maybe population of 300, maybe 400 tops at its peak, and we would drive about an hour to go to a bigger, more city-like uh, area, and they had restaurants, which I really didn't get to enjoy very much growing up because that costs money. And I remember asking my mom for a hamburger because that was not common at all. And there was a hamburger joint, and obviously my parents didn't have the money. So instead, uh, the same block, there was a place where they make tortillas to sell, and we didn't have the money to buy the tortillas. So my grandma at the time went inside and basically asked for one tortilla. They could give her one tortilla for free. They put salt on it, and that's what they gave me. Um, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was grateful. And I didn't learn to appreciate a lot of the stuff my parents, my family did growing up until I'm an adult. I'm living in the US, and I can say that um, even at my lowest here financially, is still 1,000 times better than how I grew up. And it's stuff like that that really makes you appreciate family over money, and it really puts it into perspective. And I think if a lot of people don't have that perspective, it's a lot harder to appreciate things. I think being born into a first world country already sets you off uh, much ahead of the rest of the world. And a lot of people, I think, take that for granted. They really don't know what lacking is. The degree of being poor in the U.S. versus being poor in Mexico versus being poor in Venezuela are totally different. And it's something that you learn as you get older. If you look back, or if you take in like an international trip and you go into these countries, you'll start to understand more versus I've always been in the US. I only know the US, so therefore this is the standard for the rest of the world. And, it's little things like that that make me grateful. I've learned, they've taught me a lot of things. I would consider that being wisdom gained versus knowledge. And it's something that I appreciate to this day.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, man. It is I'm not yeah, there's a couple of reasons why you'll see some outlandish behavior of of kids flexing on TikTok or whatnot, which is one, they straight up time. You need time to appreciate these things. Very similar for me. I'm living at the moment in a house that my dad built, a townhouse to be particular, and I remember as a kid coming out here when they were kind of being built, and he was teaching me things, and it kind of felt like an adventure sometimes. Sometimes it felt like work. Sometimes it was just straight up babysitting. He had to take care of me, and it was like also needed to get work done. So here I
Yep.
was. And I didn't really appreciate that until I was probably like 25 or something.
Yeah.
Much the same as traveling. I traveled around Latin America, went through Mexico as well for a good 3 months. And I did that when I was 25, 26, I think. And yeah, it was the same thing. That was the first time I'd really set aside outside of Australia and New Zealand to get a feel for what that is. And you don't necessarily need to feel it and spend a shit ton of money going traveling to see it. You could do that in your own backyard if you want. But there is a vividness that does come from a lot of these things, and which is why, yeah, I mean that's the whole point. I'm in crypto. If Bitcoin as a money or any of these other methods of transferring value, which aren't decentralized, which can't get screwed up by corrupt politicians in Argentina or Mexico or even here in Australia, there's no point. Like I don't want to be here if I see that sort of if it all just becomes meme coins and and gambling. Like I'm so out of this.
Yeah, and it's something that I think again it comes with experience. Um, as you mature, as you get older, you start changing priorities. Um, I mean, I know that 20-year-old me versus me now
Yeah,
are totally different priorities. Um, I do regret not buying Bitcoin in 2011, but that's about it. Uh, Honestly, though, I mean, had 20-year-old me bought Bitcoin, which back then was like sub a dollar, I would have like easily sold it at $10. I wouldn't have been holding it till it got into the thousands. Like, let's be real. It's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah,
at that age, oh man, I turned $1,000 into I don't know, $20,000. I'm cashing out, or heck, even $5,000. Let's be real. At that age, you don't have the same um, wisdom. You don't have the same ambition. I can probably tell you that money was a bigger issue or a focus when I was younger than it is now. Um, Even before Hosky, like I'm not going to say that Hosky hasn't been quite nice. The success that we've seen, but just overall, um, it's I couldn't have done it at any other like time of my life.
for sure. I'm curious about like how stressed out you got in terms of. I mean, for me, 15 hours on the phone would be death. Like I just straight up wouldn't be able to do that. Uh, how stressed out have you been in the how much stress has Hosky
I
caused you?
probably in the first like I want to say the first 6 months of Hosky, I probably shortened my lifespan by like a good 10 years. That's the levels of stress. Like I actually had a breakdown one time, just because of the load of the stress, the amount of work, the amount of things just happening.
And what was that coming
Um,
from? Out of interest, what would you put that down to?
just having to manage this monster that I had no real experience to manage. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to continue to do this? What the heck? Why is all this like happening to me? Um, it was just not being prepared for it. And I mean, now I'm trying to like recover from what Hosky did to me because between working from home plus on top of Hosky consuming a lot of my time, like my health went downhill. I mean, I was spending so much time that I think last year, I want to say like April timeframe, I literally woke up one Saturday morning thinking I was having a heart attack and had to go to the emergency room. And turns out that, once everything got tested and narrowed it down, like the previous 3 days, I had drank like 2 to 3 pots of coffee a day. And I wasn't drinking water, and obviously coffee dehydrates you.
Yeah,
So to me, I was drinking water, but I wasn't, and I was so dehydrated that basically my blood pressure shot through the roof. I started getting chest pain. When I get to the hospital, they basically just hydrated me, and that literally made everything go away. So I mean, it's had an impact on my health. Between being work from home since 2020 on top of Hosky, like I gained like 30, 40 pounds.
dang,
And I've actually
yeah,
started working on that now.
that's good to
I
hear.
haven't weighed myself over the last few weeks, but I've actually finally gotten motivated. I decided I'm going to do keto because I enjoy the keto diet. I've been doing intermittent fasting to go along with that, and I've been getting at least an hour of exercise a day. So I'm slowly trying to like, hey, I need to undo the bad stuff that happened because I literally neglected my health. And I think that's a lot of things people don't see. Like people think you're just, there's it's easy to do this. sometimes success is actually worse than failure because it really can have an impact on you. A lot of times, failure is temporary. Success, I can tell you, I don't know how long I'm going to have to be involved with Hosky. It's probably stuck with me for the rest of my life. So
Some
it's
doo-doo that's just
it's a
impossible to
blessing
go
and a
away.
curse, right? It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. How much does a project lead have to do before it's considered a successful project and not a rug because, hey, you handed it off after doing as much as you possibly could? I think a lot of people have to like think through that. And yeah, as it stands, Hosky was quite detrimental to my like emotional state as well as my physical state and my health. And I've gotten back to like getting rid of that, or working out more, doing changing the way I'm eating, cutting out a lot. I mean, I still drink coffee. Obviously, I love coffee. I will never quit coffee. Like I would rather not live than live without coffee. Same thing with bacon. I would rather get cancer from the
Bacon's pretty good,
bacon
man.
than live without bacon. So it's the little things. And so yeah, it can be difficult. I mean, in like thinking back on it, like success is more, it's harder to deal with and takes more of a toll on you than failure, because I've failed in the past plenty of times, and it wasn't as damaging to my health. Maybe it had an impact for a little bit, but Hosky has had quite a lasting impact for me uh, over the last, has it been a year and a half now, I think?
Yeah.
I lost track of time, like a year and 4 months, something like that.
Pretty close to that. Yeah, the probably rapid success is maybe the better way to put that, because the kind of grinding success, it's almost you don't even feel it when you get there.
Right.
It's almost like you maybe reach somewhere where you thought 10 years ago I'd love to be there. I can definitely say that for myself, kind of exercise
Mm-hmm.
wise. Doing, I remember when a muscle up was just like the craziest thing out, and now I could bust that out kind of whenever I want, and it
Yeah.
just feels good. A book review that I did recently was of The Catcher in the Rye by J.D.
Mm-hmm.
Salinger. Um, so not an Australian, but like I don't think we read that here in our Australian school system. So I kind of went out of my way for it. And I was just reading about the kind of history of what happened to him. And he was a writer. He was born in the 1920s, I believe. And he kind of found success right around that, just after World War II period. And when I say found success, I mean, he wrote this one book and basically became a household name everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at his bibliography of when he was producing books, how many, and you see like he was pretty prolific in the kind of like 1930s, like leading up until releasing this, and then he released, I mean, maybe two books the rest of his life, and became a notorious recluse, very I hate this word, litigious, when people were trying to interfere in his private life and things like this.
Yep.
The success of this book certainly took a toll on him, and it was
Yeah.
kind of due to that just rapidity, just going from unknown author to household name, and
Household name.
across the United States.
And see, that's one of the reasons that like my I like to call it semi anonymity now, because
Yeah,
there's quite a few people that know who I am.
yeah,
But I mean, going to events, seeing our quote unquote influencers get like swarmed by people because they want to talk to them, it's just not the kind of lifestyle I want. I like to be, I like to say I'm an introvert, and that I'm not like friendly. I mean, I'm friendly, I talk to people, but I'm not an outgoing person whatsoever. So, being able to navigate conferences and, being mid conversation with like Charles, and then a group walks up to Charles and starts talking to him, and just being able to sneak away without anybody noticing is quite the superpower, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
So I really, really enjoy that privacy. It's not about being anonymous; it's about just my privacy. Um, I'm not after limelight. I don't want to be famous. I don't want my face anywhere. I'm okay with just being the voice of the dog per se. Um, that's the reason I live in the middle of nowhere, because I'm not a city person. Like I'm past those years where I want a nightlife or anything like that. I'm an adult. I have children to raise, and I like the peace and quiet of living uh, outside of a town. I have to drive like 20 minutes to get to the nearest like big like supermarket. So it's I'm not right in civilization, and that's the same reason why I prefer to just remain semi-anonymous. It's part of I don't I'm not after fame. That's not something that's ever crossed my mind. It's not something that I care for. It's I just like a nice, peaceful, and quiet life.
Yeah, it's funny how there's different levels to this. So I do a very forward facing, I'm really open about almost everything. I don't particularly talk about stuff which isn't related to me, i.e., really particular details about my family, identifying other people and funny stories or things like that. I usually try and kind of keep that nice level. And yet I'm very similar in many ways, man. I went to a Bitcoin meetup not long ago, and they had a little thing called a soapbox where you get up and you talk about the just something you've found interesting in Bitcoin recently. And so I was talking about how podcasting and Bitcoin, the value for value model, which is essentially for anyone who's listening to this show, I just ask that you show value back in some form. It could be sharing the show with someone else. It could be, giving a suggestion or a talent, or, saying your microphone doesn't sound great, and you could maybe adjust the levels this way, this sort of thing. And then a straight up, like a payment or a message to me in the podcasting app. And I was telling them all about this, and I was in front of 20 people max, and it was so uncomfortable. Jesus, public speaking in that format is just not for me at all.
And
And
see, that's one thing. Like public speaking, I'm okay with. I've stood in front of hundreds of people. Like
yeah,
that's not an issue.
yeah,
But just my private life versus my career is two totally different like worlds to me, and I treat them as such. I am more reserved with my private life than I am when I have to be, present in front of people. I'm okay with that. I don't mind speaking in front of hundreds of people with my face shown. I think with the summit that just happened last year, I got to sit on a panel. Well, the mascot sat on the panel.
yep,
I was, so my face was never visible. I was speaking, whatever. And that was probably the largest crowd I've ever spoken in front of. And it was totally nerve wracking because of the size, because of the platform, because of the event of where it was. That was probably the most like nerve wracking emotions or whatever you want to call it that I've ever had to deal with. But in the past, I've spoken before, and it didn't feel the same. So I guess I don't have enough practice with uh, crypto talks versus subjects that I am more of an expert in my field. So it can be both, I guess. I sometimes I find it extremely easy, but in this case, when it came to like the dog itself, that was nerve wracking. Like that was a whole different atmosphere. Plus the whole like trying to remain anonymous and people not seeing you, and all that adds to the stress of being backstage talking. Um, so I'm okay with doing it, but if I don't have to, I would rather not.
yeah. It's a skill. It's a skill if you desire to do it. I was having an argument with my co-host Juan about this on the one of the latest episodes, and I was just saying I don't feel it's that necessary for many people. The amount of people who are going to be exposed to a limelight of that sort, or
Hmm.
in have something that is worthy of capturing the attention of more than 10 people is pretty rare. I mean, just
Yeah.
kind of by definition, there's always going to be more people in the crowd than people speaking. Although
Yep.
with AI and stuff, who knows, maybe we can get a crowd of like AI bots cheering our everything. That'd be I haven't thought about that. Instead of the AIs being the content creators, AIs being kind of the
They're the
consumers.
listeners.
Yeah,
They're the
yeah.
judges.
Yeah, I need to think about that more. That's a fun idea.
That is interesting, actually.
I wanted
It's
to
the opposite of what you would
ask.
expect.
Yes, exactly. Which is kind of why I like Hosky as well. The kind of paradox, and I talked about that a lot in the latest, the first time we chat. Uh, what's it been like with kind of expectations of community? So I saw this quote you put on Twitter once, which was "Culture is whatever the worst behavior you'll accept." What's the worst behavior you'll accept, Hosky wise?
I don't remember putting that.
I'm pretty sure you put that somewhere, or you quoted it somewhere. It was a quote from
I
somewhere.
might have. Now I have to go search because I don't feel like I've ever said that. Um, I don't know. We have limits on what we do, and I think we actively discourage like moonboyism is what I'm going to call it.
Yep.
Like setting false expectations on new members. I think the Hosky community, the Discord itself, is really good at policing that. Recently, we have had an influx of moon boys show up, and talking about how many zeros can be shed or how many X's can be made in a certain amount of time. And I think our community is so well versed in Hosky that basically anybody that comes in like that is gonna get made fun of by 90% of the people that are in chat. So that's been, I think, the biggest thing that we have to deal with is just the idea. I'm like, listen, if you want Hosky, come chat in the Discord, stake to a stake pool. Don't buy it. Like, I would never recommend anybody spending any money on Hosky token whatsoever. Um, that's why we have many ways for people to get it without having to, spend anything. So that's the one area that we won't go is we're not going to allow moonboyism. I've been to other chats of other projects, and all you hear is them talking about how much money they're going to make, or how rich they're going to be, or what they're going to be able to afford because this project is going to the quote unquote moon. And I think that's a very negative mentality to have around your project because you're setting up expectations. And even if it's not the co-founders, I mean, it's usually not the founders doing this, but it's what they allow in their community. And I think that just sets a very bad precedent for, new incoming members and what they're going to expect. So when they inevitably buy something and the price likely drops, because I always say dropping is more probable than going up, then you're basically gonna have a disillusioned community member because all they heard and all that was allowed in that chat or they talked about was the moons, the Lambos, and success, 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 without really pointing to the fact that failure is always and more likely than success.
Yeah, it makes me think about the power that a negative influence can have or a negative experience can have on someone. So,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of experience can absolutely just wipe someone out, much like how my friend's FTX example in a different
Mm-hmm.
world could just bias him against crypto for the rest of his life, essentially. The it is one thing I do like about Hosky is kind of this is that and every time I go in and I see someone talking about that, there's the kind of self-defense mechanism of the jokes come in, and it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can be biting it sometimes, but I think for the most time it's pretty playful of the the squashing down of this is going to zero, right? This
Right.
is that kind of like little paradoxical thing. Everyone's kind of in like there's nothing that you would do. Well, maybe some people are kind of masochistic, so you would maybe invest in something if you think it's going to zero. But I mean, you probably wouldn't need to put that much effort into doing that. You could just
Well, I mean, and that's the thing though. Like through Hosky, I'm trying to teach people that there's risks that you should never take, like providing liquidity for Hosky. We've never provided liquidity, so all the liquidity that the token has right now is the community. And the one thing I think the community, or I've tried to get across to the community, is that um, with Hosky being centralized, because let's be honest, I have a lot of the tokens sitting in cold wallets
yeah. I
still,
was I was
so they're
going to bring this
safer than
up. Yeah,
they're safer than most. I mean, I've seen like this week, like projects getting hacked, their Twitter accounts getting hacked, their wallets getting drained, and it like baffles me because I would expect a lot more from quote unquote serious projects. Like, I feel like our security is too good that I need to like dumb it down a bit and like add a little more risk to spice things up. But no, I mean, when it comes to the community, I'm like, they need to be aware that when a token is centralized, I can literally go into a ledger and take, I don't know, say 100 trillion Hosky from the TBD, which is to be determined or could be to be dumped wallet. I always make that joke, and dump it into the liquidity pool and drain 80% of the liquidity. And people need to understand that Hosky is the example of, being able to do it. But Hosky is not the only example in crypto. I mean, so many chains are so centralized and so controlled by insiders, VCs, whatever, that you're literally doing the exact same thing when you're buying their token. You're basically opening yourself up for them to dump on you, and you're now stuck with tokens that are worthless. Even though the Hosky community claims that they would love for me to do that, I know they would not like that. I don't think anybody would like that, because you're literally wiping out the price of the token. Again, you can't really do much with zero. Zero is zero, but those people providing liquidity, they could lose some zeros by doing so. We've had trillions sold into the liquidity pool by people that have been buying it up over the last year or whatever not. And, the price takes quite a dump. And then you see people picking it up, buying it again. I don't know why, when they can just get it for free. That's not my prerogative. It's not something that I look at too much. We've always came into the mentality that we're going to give this token away. We're going to try to help small stake pools, which we're up to 20 now. We started with 7, and within a year, we're now up to 20. And that's really what I want to focus on. It's nice to see the rug pools grow from, I think when we started, they had like 15 million ADA combined, because we've always taken pools that are under 3 million ADA. Some of them had like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 ADA when they started with us. And thankfully, I think we've brought in, we're at about 175, 180,000 ADA staked to the pools. And at this moment, the lowest pool or the smallest pool is sitting at around 2.1, 2.2 million ADA. So the pools continue to grow. At 2 million ADA, I think you have about an 80% chance of producing a block. And again, some of these pools were sitting under 500,000 before for months, if not years. So, it's something that I can do to help the community. I'm not saying I'm a knight in shining armor and, this is a PR move. I never really saw it as that until somebody pointed it out recently. The other option would be, knowing how popular Hosky is, I could open up my own 20 pools and you can earn Hosky that way, which I think is the opposite of, caring about decentralization. I personally think that I want to do what's best for Cardano, not what's best for Hosky.
Yeah.
So in this case, stressing the network early on before DEX is launched, helping small SPOs that are struggling. I mean, there's so many of our current SPOs that have told me like, hey, thanks, you rescued my pool. I was literally ready to close it down. I've heard that from at least 4 or 5 people in the rug pools right now. And that warms up my heart. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That feels much better than, somebody buying one of my JPEGs. And it's been quite a journey, and it's brought me close to a lot of people. Like, I can say I've gained a lot of friends through all of this. Some of them who know who I am and I've, talked to on a daily basis. Some of them who don't know who I am and I still talk to them. I mean, I love my moderators, all of them. They're all volunteers. We picked them out of the community because they showed that they cared. They showed that they would answer questions without, just by being part of the community. They were basically being moderators before being moderators. And, I've gotten to meet a lot of them. I got to meet some for the first time here at CNFTCon last year. I met some more at Bloom. And then when we went to the summit, I met another one, which is Dimmelix, also that's the guy that got the first ever Hosky tattoo. So
I love
he's really, really an idiot. So I got to meet him, and it was nice. He actually is now in control of the mascot. We actually left that one in Europe and have another one coming. to the US. I eventually plan to send one to Asia somewhere and maybe South America. So it's not as expensive to, move them around, because that shipping it from the US to New Zealand, or not New Zealand, to Switzerland, was a pretty penny. Um, and so yeah, it's been like I've enjoyed the relationships, the friendships that I've built, because of the project. People that I would have never met otherwise.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh man, there's like three things I want to take from that. So first one is just general tip. If you want to get good at a job, the general advice is act as if you're doing that job before you even
Right.
get the job. So
Yep.
that's just pure pure little tip for people there.
Yeah.
One thing I like about you and the kind of Hosky, just I suppose community, if you want to put it that way, is you're a good example of the don't look at someone's words, look at their actions. You
Yep.
know, talk is cheap, and which is really nice because usually when you say this, you say it in a negative context.
Hmm.
This person's saying all these things, but you look at what they're doing behind the scenes. Yeah, you sure you want to be involved with them at all?
Hmm.
Whereas you're the vice versa, which is you're straight up in the fact that like, yeah, we're gonna mess you up, we're gonna rug pull you and whatnot, and then you look at the actions, it's like, well, I'm a little bit disappointed here. You're not doing any of these things.
Okay,
But
you're
I
blowing my cover here, man. This needs to get scrubbed. This is not going live. You're just destroying the narrative. Rewind.
well, here's a beautiful bit. I'll bring it back. If you look at
Okay.
the hard facts of it, you own like the wallet that is destined for Charles, but you still have that in your control. That's 50% of
Yep.
the Hosky right there. You just mentioned the TBD. I know there's the two wallets of yourself and Vegas, which also are
Hmm.
10%. Is that correct? Or
So yeah, so the wallets that we currently have control of. It's the 500 trillion, 500 trillion and one, because there's 1 quadrillion and one
yes,
token.
correct.
That's designated for Charles, which I don't know if he'll ever accept, and we'll have to find a way to do something with it, whether it's burn it. But I would have to wait for him to ask for us to burn it or something like that.
Yeah.
Then we have the 200 trillion that's to be determined. So we're talking already 700 trillion there. We also have the quote unquote founders wallets, which have another 50 trillion. So that's already 750 trillion. And I think the quote unquote meme acquisition budget, which is the one that we've been giving to, say, exchanges or dexes to whatever, and projects, like in this case, where I put out a thing that I'm giving the first 100 people like X amount of Hosky if they buy a ticket. Um, there was a little controversy around that, believe it or not. People felt that I was pricing everybody else out from competing and selling tickets, because apparently there's incentives when you sell tickets using your code, which I wasn't aware of when I put the tweet out. I think
Okay.
it was like
Yeah.
3, 4 days after I was pulled into a meeting with Rare, where everybody was in who wanted to attend or participate or help out, whatever. And that's when I found out that there's actually financial incentives behind it. And I'm like, well, that was not my intention to begin with. So I am looking at a way to remedy that. But I did put that out because I mean, Rare Pool is actually the last pool that joined, and anything that the rug pools are involved in, I try to be supportive of, like with A3C and the muesli swap boat. So, we actually barely beat Smog on that one. So we did have a big push on that. So anything that our rug pools are involved, I'm going to be obviously pushing because I want to help them. If the biggest pool grow, the smaller pools also benefit. That's actually one of the reasons we set up Hosky the way it is. Every pool gets a set amount of Hosky, so you can only get so much based on the number of people that are delegating to that pool. So as the bigger pools grow, it's usually more beneficial if you want to get more worthless tokens to move to the smaller pools. So as the bigger pools at top grow, the smaller pools also benefit because some of that delegation starts moving, trickling down. That was kind of one of the reasons we designed it the way we did, is because a tide that hits the rug pools brings everybody up, and it's something that we've noticed. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, tokens. So yeah, there's 750 trillion. I think there's still 20 trillion in that wallet. That's the meme acquisition, which is what we use for projects to incentivize whatever it may be. And so there's at least 770 trillion that are still in our control at the moment.
Yeah. So the trickle down Hoskynomics theory that you're playing with, you're basically the the Fed Reserve. You
But it
can
works.
you've
It
yeah.
really it works for that. It doesn't work for finances. I mean, you can try trickle down economics all you want. I've never really been a believer that that works.
No, that's
Um,
it's completely fucked.
but basically, the Hosky incentive is the opposite of the ADA incentive, and I really think that's the only reason it works, because a bigger pool will usually provide you slightly higher return on your ADA.
Yes,
While
correct.
in the
Yes.
Hosky aspect, the smaller the pool, the bigger the pool, the less you're going to get, but the more you're going to get when you move. So it's like it's the opposite of the ADA effect, which I think is what's made it successful,
Yes, correct.
because it's basically doing the reverse and incentivizing that, which is something that, again, we've had discussions about. I've always been a pro single stake pool. I'm not a fan of multi poolers. I think it's abusing the system. Even if it's allowed within the code, I still think that, we should look at ourselves. What's the motive behind it? And I'm going to say most of the time it's simply money. So when it comes to the Hoskynomics of the rug pools, yeah, it just happens to work to where it incentivizes delegating to the small stake pools, which has been
Mm.
very beneficial to keep those smaller pools afloat. When one of the last pools that joined that was small was Bone Pool, they had like 50,000 ADA, and as soon as they joined, you saw some of the bigger pools bleed out. Like they lost 50, 100,000 ADA, and that ADA moved into Bone. He's still the lowest, I think, but he's sitting at like 2.1, 2.2 million. So from 50,000 to 2 million, from almost never producing a block to producing a block 80% of the time, I would call that success.
Yeah, yeah, and it's that kind of promoting decentralization through the most
Right.
centralized thing you could imagine, which
Right.
I do just
It's
want to make
it's
super clear again for people. The amount that you control and hold, and you said before you wouldn't, even though people claim it, you personally would not want to dump on people and whatnot. But I think there's a lack of
right.
imagination that sometimes comes with a lot of these things.
But hey,
If you
let's
had a family
don't put their mind at
emergency,
ease. I
okay,
do think we
yep,
need to make it a point to people that this can happen. Like, you should not trust me. You shouldn't. And you shouldn't ever have to trust anybody. That is literally the opposite of what crypto is set up to do. It's supposed to be trustless. You're supposed to trust the code, not the human behind it. Like, I think that's one thing people miss is, like, I think one of the quote unquote sayings that you always hear is trust but verify. Well, when it comes to crypto, the whole point of it is to not have to rely on trust, is to rely on what the code does. So you should never trust anybody, regardless of who they are, regardless of how they've always been. There is always that chance that they can dump on you. So don't ever trust 100% ever. That is literally bad blockchain etiquette.
yeah, correct. And the point I did want to make though was, even if you get burnt, there can be reasons for it, and that can still be, like, you can still get hurt really badly, and it can still be something that you can understand in a way, which is really messed up.
Mhm.
It's like, why isn't the world black and white? Why isn't Hosky token, he dumped on us, but you had to do it for, I don't know, family reasons, a healthcare
Sure.
emergency, whatever. And
Mhm.
that's kind of like getting to the paradox of Hosky once again. It's the world's not black and white. There's all sorts
Right.
of shades in gray.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, and there could be things that are not even out of our control. I mean, even like I said, this week we've seen some quote unquote serious projects get hacked. It was Some of them was their Twitter account, some of them was their actual wallets, hot wallets that weren't multi sig or weren't cold storage. So maybe there's an exploit for Ledger one day that when I connect to do a transaction, they steal the 200 TBD wallet. They basically send themselves the funds because I somehow approved it. That kind of stuff is another layer of issues. Like, again, when a token is centralized, and I'm going to now talk about real tokens like Solana, or Aptos is the new one. All of these VC chains, you are at a very high risk of just being exit liquidity. And that's why research is important. That's why I personally prefer the more decentralized tokens. At the moment, I hold Bitcoin, I hold ADA, I hold Ergo, and that's about it. Those are the only three that I'm holding because I believe that they are quote unquote truly decentralized. There was no preferential treatment given to VCs. And it's ridiculous at what rates the VCs get their money. Like most VCs won't touch a token unless at launch they're already guaranteed like 100x. So if a token or a crypto comes out and it's $1 the price, most of the VCs put in millions at likely a penny. This is the kind of crap that you have to deal with, and you a lot of times don't know because it's not widely communicated. So it is very, 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 very dangerous to invest in a lot of these heavily VC backed tokens because at the price that they launch, you're already losing money, and they will start selling it, dumping it on you, and your basic that price is there's going to be so much sell pressure that it's not sustainable. And that's the one thing I don't think a lot of people are aware of, the shenanigans that happen behind the crypto space. A lot of times because it's not regulated. There's no entity that can prevent that, but it's something that people should be aware of.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. I don't have much to add to that, other than I concur. Yeah, VC is it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I think about it. Hosky, let's get into something that's a bit more fun. Is it still fun for you now, even after the 420 of the NFTs have been minted?
Oh yeah,
After
yeah. I mean,
all the stress and whatnot, do you still enjoy it?
I do. I can say that it's actually very enjoyable. I'll give you an example. I love my day job. I love it, but I don't love it as much as I do Hosky because it's quote unquote my creation. It's a community that's been built around it. Yes, I still enjoy Hosky. Now, the bad part about it is because of all the success, I have so much stuff that is not fun that I have to deal with now that it takes time away from me. Like I'm not on Discord as much as I used to be. Like the first month, I was on there like 18 hours a day. It was horrible. I neglected my family a lot during that time frame. Slowly, there's been the moderators and all that, so there was less time that I had to spend actively on there. I can say that right now I spend even less time than I've ever spent on the Discord, mainly because of all the meetings I have, all the interviews I have to have. I'm now part of Catalyst Circle, so that takes some time. We have meetings, and so it just there's so much going on right now, and I don't see it as negative. It's actually good. It's I think it's what I'm doing. In my opinion, is for the benefit of the project. But you don't see me as much. Like I can tell you that the members that are joining within the last, I don't know, 3 months have likely seen me less than somebody who was maybe there 6 months in. They probably were only there for a week and they saw more of me than these people that have been there for 3 months. So is it still fun? Yes. But there's a lot of unfun stuff, administrative stuff that has to be done that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. Similar for the podcast, there's all the things in the background, and you try and outsource it as much as possible, or just there's things I will not do. I will not cut a episode to edit it for a small short form like TikTok thing, and I'll do that in just sections and just go bam, 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 but I won't try and create this crazy, amazing editing thing because I just don't actually enjoy the process of editing per se. And there are realities of life where not everything can be fun, but you can go from a job, much like I did with engineering, which I was rather ambivalent about. I didn't hate it nor love it, to something like podcasting, which I mostly love. And then there's just moments of like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's with anything. Again, I like my job, my day job, but I don't like it as much as I like Hosky. Even even all the administrative stuff that I have to deal with Hosky when it comes to uh, scheduling meetings, attending those meetings, booking stuff for events that are coming up, having to deal with suppliers for merchandise to give away. I don't enjoy that, but it has to be done. And I mean, we could hire somebody, but it is the bear market, and I think an important project survival tip is like don't go spending like you're in a bull market, because your one ADA doesn't quite go as far as it used to like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've held the ADA since the beginning. So when we started selling the NFTs, ADA was like at $1.70, and we're now trading at 35 USD. So that's quite a drop. But again, I think part of trying to make the project successful is being lean. We are working on our website. Vegas is, so the rug pulls are going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be a little not just sent to an address, but you'll be able to connect your wallet. You'll be able to see what you're going to get before you pull it. You'll be able to, move your cash grabs around to match the pool trades. You'll be able to see what the rewards are in real time. Like, so if you have 1,000 ADA that are unstaked and you look, it'll tell you which pool is going to give you the best reward. So it's just little like quality of life changes that we want to work with just to make it easier for people to navigate our website. So it is going to get a little more upgraded than our WordPress trial that I, with zero web design skills, put together. So that's coming up here in the next few months. Unfortunately, right now, Vegas is having to deal with his dad's health. That is quickly on the decline. So I told him, dude, take as much time as you need, because it does look like it's coming to an end. So just spend as much time as you can with your dad. Hosky will still be here. Because we have promised nothing, it's hard to underdeliver. So that's why we don't give time frames or anything for that, other than it's in the future.
Yeah. Have you looked at, we sort of talked about this last time, but just automating some things so you don't have to deal with stuff, as in it can just run on, i.e. decentralizing Hosky by just creating
Yes.
some
So
automated processes so you don't have to do
so
a lot of
the
this
rug
manual
pulls right
stuff?
now, Vegas has to interfere every 5 days with the website and everything that we're building. That's going to be no longer the case. Everything will just run every epic without us having to do anything, unless stuff breaks. We're also moving it from bare metal to hosted servers. And I'm also looking at like finding a way to put some of the tokens behind a smart contract, and having that smart contract, say for example, like the rug pull wallet allowance, having it every epic just feed the 500 billion into the distribution wallet, so that those tokens are, quote unquote, locked up. We are looking at a lot of that stuff, and we do expect to implement it, but we're trying to be careful, again, with expenses.
Mistakes have
So
been
if we
made in the
needed,
past.
right, I mean, we've had issues in the past. Vegas has given away, I don't know, 25, 30,000 ADA on accident.
Yeah. How
So
much did you
we
lose? It was a couple of trillion, right?
oh, it was 1.1 trillion. It was
Yeah,
the hot
nice.
wallet that was used for, I think at the time it was what was going to be used to incentivize wing riders, yield farm or liquidity. And yeah, I my extension reset, and all the data was lost. And I swore I took a picture of the seed, which you should never do. But this was a wallet that never really held anything. It was like a pass through wallet. I dump it there, then send it off. And yeah, I lost the seed, and I lost the extension, and 1.1 trillion Hosky are now sitting in a wallet that I cannot access.
Yeah.
Now,
Man.
even then, if a project claims that they lost the keys, it doesn't mean it's true. So I
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
lying, and I
Yeah.
could be sitting on that trillion to dump it later on.
And you could find that
Unfortunately, no.
photo in 4 years' time.
Right. I looked at all the photos. I looked for seed words, because if you actually search for seed phrase in like Apple Photos, it actually can read words,
Oh, oh,
and
geez.
it didn't find anything. So it didn't find anything. Unfortunately, I tried to look up individual words, and it found some other seeds that I've used in the past that are no longer in use. And yeah, it was 1.1 trillion got lost, but they're technically still there, so I wouldn't consider them, burnt or anything. They're still there.
Yeah, I got locked out of my own podcast. My
Ah,
computer
nice.
my computer died, and it kind of like reset all of these things. I was using this self-hosted solution, which was janky to say the least, or at least my implementation of it was janky to say the least. And I was like, shit. And I had one more episode to do for that season, and then I was going to cut it. I was just like, oh,
Oof. Yeah,
had to spend like
life
eight
is tough.
hours
I've
doing.
actually, this wasn't the first time that it's happened to me. I actually had a token that was on Ethereum that I bought for like $200-300. I had it in a wallet that I never really used, and I swore I had the seed somewhere. And I did a reset on my PC, and then eventually, I think the token was like on the front page of like crypto Reddit. So I'm
Oh,
like, hey,
jeez.
I have some of that. So my $200 was worth like 15 grand at the time. So I was like, yeah, let's go sell it. Yeah, I have the wallet. I know the wallet address, but I don't know what the heck happened to the seed.
Oof. Oof.
So lesson learned. I mean, some people will say, "Oh, you lost $15,000." No, I really lost 200 because that's how much I
Yeah.
paid for it. So yeah, it was. I've had that happen in the past, and it was a good learning experience. I keep everything for the most part in cold storage because I think it's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Best practices, people. Cold storage for large amounts, hot wallets for small amounts, and there's variations in between of that. So
Yep.
for sure. What this is a question from Dimilix. You talked to him just before. Do you have any? What's your top favorite moments? Top three favorite moments of the Hosky over the last year and a bit?
So let's start backwards. Um, so number. So is this like live right now?
No, 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 no. Just recording.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Um, so number three was actually at CNFTCon when the mascot came out, got on stage with Charles, which was also accidental, by the way. Speaking of which, he was supposed to go on the side of the stage so Charles could then go and take pictures, but the person didn't understand that and they thought is get on stage. So they got on stage. Afterwards, we did make it down to the
Okay,
side,
so
and
so it wasn't you on in the suit then.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Right on.
And well, actually, no, it wasn't at the time.
I was
What
gonna say
happened was,
based on you talking about it, but I don't know. Could be a
yeah,
3D.
no,
You
no,
you
it
do
was
have a
not.
200 IQ, so
Right. So what happened was, is Charles went out the back end and started coming back towards the mascot, and he was flooded by people. Eventually, after like 20 minutes, he made it to where the mascot was, and then a line built up to get a picture with Charles and Hosky. Well, another benefit of being invisible is I just got in line like everybody else.
oh gangster.
And literally waited, got up to the front, and got a picture with Charles, Hosky, and myself.
Yeah. Oh
Nobody
man,
knows about that because that was one of my favorite. That was number three.
that's a
Uh,
valuable thing. If any, if your photo ever gets leaked or something, you're like, it can't be me. Look, here's
right,
me, Husky and Charles.
right. Number two was actually the summit experience, like being selected as the NFT project winner for that year was pretty epic. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. Getting to speak at the summit, having like two speeches on the side stage, the panel on the main stage, and then for the gala dinner, having won the award. That was surreal. Like, that was like, it blew my mind. It was an experience I've never had. I had never traveled out of the country in my life. Other than, I mean, I come from Mexico and I came to the US, so those are the only two countries I've ever been to. So getting to travel to Europe, to Switzerland, and then to be awarded something that the community helped us to achieve was surreal. It felt like a dream.
I
Um,
bet. I bet. Yeah.
that was number two. And I think number one, and this will always be in my mind, was consensus and getting to meet people, getting the cold shoulder from influencers because I'm a nobody. nobody knows who I am. So I was just myself, and I'm not interesting enough. But then there was a couple people that were amazing to me, human me, not dog me, because they had no idea who dog me was. And sitting at a table talking Cardano for hours, meeting them the next day, running into them at one of Charles' speeches, them remembering my name, them remembering, asking me, hey, how's the conference going? That was the best thing that ever happened to me to this day because of Hosky, is just seeing people's genuine side. And that has been my number one, is just getting to see people's true self, to human me. It has been an amazing experience. It hasn't always been positive. Those individuals are the only ones that I can say have been like amazing, and they know who I am at this point. I actually told them at the conference. I messaged them from the Hosky account, say, hey, come walk out of the conference and make a left. And I was there. That's when they realized it was me. And that was the best experience of Hosky to this day. Even more than winning an award, even more than getting to talk to Charles or taking a picture with Charles, is just seeing people who are genuinely caring for the Cardano community and aren't after clout.
Yeah, yeah, and it's nice to hear that it's not like I got a billionaire and sold out all the NFTs and things like that. Like it's cool and it's fun. But yeah, those are personal ones, I guess, because it
Yeah.
is so I guess like interconnected with you. I imagine you're going to have problems distinguishing
So
between
those
yourself
those
and Hosky.
individuals, yeah, those individuals, they actually came to my house. They've spent the night at my house. Like, we became friends. They've met my wife. They've become friends. So it's like long lasting relationships that you can build, and it's all outside of. I mean, it started outside of Hosky. And I think I place more value on that than anything else. Is it nice to have sold out for 120,000 NFTs? Of course it is. But again, that's not the focus. Like, there's so many things out there that go beyond money and are literally priceless. Not worthless like Hosky, but priceless. And these are the sort of moments that I cherish. The award at the summit was amazing. Um, that whole experience, getting to take a picture with Charles and the mascot, was pretty hilarious, and it's memorable, but it still doesn't compare to the number one, which is people were just being genuine and a relationship was built outside of, because of who I was.
Yeah, for
Hosky
sure.
in this case.
For sure. Uh, we were talking about fun before and having fun. What some plans do you have to make it more fun in the future? So there's a YouTube channel. Many things can be done with that. I think I saw someone created a Hosky Rocket League team. Is
Yeah,
you have
so
anything to do with
there
that?
is, yes, that was us. We did sponsor like one tournament that they're going to participate. They were going to do it without, whether we sponsored them or not, but I figured, hey, let's help them out. And there is a Rocket League team currently. They have a tournament sometime this month, and we'll see how that goes. And so, yeah, we are involved in that. As far as what we have planned, I don't know. Like, I mean, stuff is planned to be fun. I like to, as an example, like, there's events coming up like Rare Bloom and CNFTCon, and the only reason I want to attend those is to give back to the community that has supported us. Because I mean, it obviously costs money to put these events together, to have a booth, getting people there, and all that. Um, and a lot of projects just aren't willing to do that because there's really not a lot of benefit from doing it. But having a community that's so strong, that has been behind us the entire time, being, I want to say, like a household name within the Cardano community, I feel like we owe it to them. So we'll be at conferences. I've got some stuff on order that's coming in sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, is what they told me. So we'll see merchandise, and there's a lot of stuff that we've done that we don't even talk about. We sponsored, I think it was 9 different summits that we gave them. I think 2,500 ADA each, just to help them out, because I know that the Cardano Foundation helps, but we wanted to give them something else for whatever they needed it for. I made it clear to them, you don't have to advertise that we sponsored you. This is not what we're after. We just want you to do it. We just want to help you guys out. I know that a few of them had like after parties that they paid for with that money or extra food and stuff like that, which is kind of what I want to see is, just help the community out a little bit because they've helped us so much already. And again, I want to do anything that helps Cardano. Cardano over Hosky any day. If it came down to if you sacrifice Hosky and Cardano becomes whatever, it helps Cardano, I'm okay with that, ultimately. Not that I want to do that, but, priorities.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I did actually want to have a question around slightly deviation, but the like branding and things like that. So there's all sorts of things like if you look at the yellow dog, it's suspiciously like a character from Pokemon, perhaps. Yeah, a certain mouse, yes. a marsupial of some sort. The people using the Hosky logo of, altering it, playing with the name and things like that. What are your thoughts on just in terms of like Hosky as a brand? Are you encouraging of people using it however they want? Or what's your general thoughts?
Ideally, if you want a brand to be successful, so let's talk about the yellow dog or some of the other ones. We actually have had legal look into it, and we may be required to change or modify some of them to fit within fair use rules. I think the yellow blushing dog is okay. Again, I have to wait for the legal opinion before I, just say that it is okay. So that's under discussion, and we've already announced it in the past that there's certain things that are being looked into. So we may have to make slight modifications.
So whether it is just to clarify for anyone who's listening, yellow dog is one of the kind of furs on within the 420,000 NFTs. Yeah.
Yes, and it looks like some sort of mouse that shoots electricity apparently, and it's blushing as well.
Yes, correct.
And now as far as Hosky goes, we have a pretty lenient policy. So if any other NFT project wants to use our logo as a trait for whatever reason, I'm all for it. I have no issues. I know that there's been other brands that have been like, "Oh, that's my IP." Yes, that is my IP. That's our IP. We have that Hosky and or the dog, whatever. But if you really want to be successful, you have to be open for others to use you. So, for example, there was a little controversy recently with Book.io putting the Hosky face on a dog training manual that they minted, and I think they minted like 420 of them. And some of the people were like, "How dare Book?" They're like, "Hey, did Book.io tell you that they were doing this?" I'm like, "Nope, I had no idea." They're like, "Well, how dare they?" I'm like, "Listen, guys, if you want your brand to be successful, when somebody uses your image as an homage, I think that's how you say it, homage, then you got to understand that that's part of growing your brand because you're now getting exposure from other entities that are literally promoting your project. So we're very open to projects using, I think Flatmars asked if they could use, make a beanie for Hosky, and it has a Hosky dog and it's the blue color, like the Hosky blue is what I call it. I'm okay with that. There's been other projects that have taken Hosky and used it as part of their collection as one of the traits. Maybe it's an armband, maybe it's some glasses, and it has our logo on it. To me, that's part of building and growing your brand. I think if you're like, "Oh, I'm going to come after you because you're using it," you're literally limiting and not only giving yourself a negative like view to others, but you're limiting the growth of your brand. So, if people want to use their NFTs and print them and, whatever, I don't care. Do we have plans to put out a merch store? We have to find a way to continue to make the project profitable and to be able to pay for, ongoing expenses. So yeah, I do plan to open a merch store. I'm actually working with a lot of companies to get different merchandise made. But am I opposed to other people selling merchandise? No, not at all. I mean, Merchify was the first ones that ever reached out to us that they wanted to make Hosky merchandise, and they're like, "Well, how much is it going to cost us?" And I'm like, "You guys are a new business. You guys are starting. Use Hosky. Use our Discord as a testing ground. They're like, how much? I'm like, nothing. Just take whatever you were going to give me, use it for something else, donate it, charity, whatever. If I can help other projects grow, I'm okay with that. Hosky is, as a whole, I do see it more as a brand than anything specific, anything else. More than a token, more than an NFT. It's just a brand that's been built around this dog. I don't know if you've seen the new stickers, which is basically like the mascot being turned into more like of a 3D person. That was something that I love. And like you said, we have a YouTube channel with like 1,000 subscribers that has no content. Could there be content in the future? Possibly. Maybe we make educational content. Maybe we animate the mascot. There's so many things that can be done. Again, we do things as they come. We don't have any concrete plans. We have a general direction that we want to follow, but it's not set in stone.
Did you have any branding or marketing background before you did all of this?
Zero.
Because I always said like you're really great at the marketing, just in terms of like at least Twitter communication.
I've turned down 2 or 3 jobs already, job offers from other Cardano projects where they're like, hey, we want to hire you to run our Twitter account or do marketing for us. I'm like, listen, guys, I've got no marketing experience. I'm good with like memes and trolling. And I just couldn't take that responsibility on. They're like, well, but that's why we want you. I'm like, no, sorry, guys, I can't. Hosky already consumes enough time where I could not feel comfortable adding more responsibilities to my plate, at least not while I have a day job.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I've got a last question here. This is helpfully sourced from the Hosky community. So Sayos, Lutz Crypto, and Dimelix all had this. And it's the classic when 100% decentralized, when PDF, when radioactive purpose. I like that one. And when SIP68 adding the ability for gold frames to all NFTs.
So SIP60. So one of the things with our NFTs is
I don't even know what that means, by the way. Could you explain that to me as well?
I know most of them. So SIP68 is dynamic NFTs. So it basically is 2 NFTs. One is locked, the other one isn't. The locked NFT always references back to the unlocked NFT, so you can like make changes to the NFT and it would update to the locked one. So say you wanted to add stats to your NFTs for like gaming purposes, you can do that because that reference NFT can be modified and it updates on the NFT that's locked. So we can implement that because our policy, again, 420,000, we gave ourselves like 3 years, even though they sold out in 11 months. So our policy is still unlocked. So we can implement SIP68, I believe. Don't ask me. I'm not the technical guy. That's Vegas's job. We can implement SIP68 to be able to, in the future, give them stats, modify them, whatever the case may be. When radioactive purpose, we have plans, but I won't disclose them. So you'll have to wait. What was the other wins?
When 100% decentralized and the classic when PDF.
Well, our PFP already is 100% decentralized. So I just wanted to clarify that. It is literally decentralized to the left. And as far as like we discussed, when it comes to smart contracts and all that, in the future, maybe, or maybe we just rug. When rug, again, after 1.5 years, I already failed at submitting a Catalyst proposal for them to fund a rug so that there would be a rug
that was
to
so
pull.
Funny. I love that.
Now I'm part of Project Catalyst, so I'm investigating.
Push it through
to see how I can
make it happen.
Right, so I can see how to properly submit a proposal for a rug. So until then, we do not own a rug.
Beautiful. There's just completely off topic, but my mouse pad is like a little magic flying carpet rug, and I've gotten more compliments on that than basically anything else I've done with the podcast.
With the rug,
huh? Yeah.
I would imagine the Hosky
community is
the Hosky community is very pro rug. The Hosky community is very pro rug.
I know. Yes, they yeah. Oh man, Hosky, it's really fun chatting with you, man. I really enjoy this. Did you have any questions? Anything you wanted to bring up or talk about before we close it out?
No, I mean, I think the only thing I always like to push is make sure you take your ADA off exchanges. Make sure you stake your ADA with single stake pool operators to help decentralize Cardano. And if you want worthless tokens, there's 20 pools that are single stake pool operators operated by different individuals that you can stake your ADA to get worthless Hosky from our website.
Yep. Beautiful. The only thing I'll add to that is it's about fun. It's not about getting super rich, mega wealthy, etc., etc. So if you're not having fun, like you're doing it wrong.
Right, right, exactly. The Hosky community is about fun. It's not about gains, Lambos, moons, or any of that. So if you're looking for fun, discord.gg/Hosky. I would recommend against it, but if you are idiot enough, there's a bunch of other idiots in there.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, thank you so much, my friend, and yeah, looking forward to chatting with you again in the future and seeing all the other crazy
Always,
stuff that's been going on.
always. So thank you.